Are you talking about
Sunset
the
Acres.
Sunset Acres up above.
overlook there?
Yeah, you know where
Oh, it's
Marty's
actually
If it's not 80%
above
effective,
Lakeside.
somebody's at 2%.
You go along there, it's high.
It
Yeah.
looks like this
And
guy's
they,
it.
whatever they have, they
That's the
can see
reality,
it now,
yeah.
but the leaves, when they come out, they don't get much of a view of the lake.
Okay, seeing it's
Big tree.
7:15, I'm gonna call the meeting to order for the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Commission for April 13, 2021. Could I have attendance, please?
Query Brownell,
Here.
James Curtin,
Here,
Richard Pettinelli, absent, Justin Anderson,
Yes, sir.
Bernard Gillis,
Here.
Ed Govins,
Here.
Louis Salcup, absent, Susan Kinsman.
Did you hear from Lou?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Susan, you can sit in for, Richard, because I know he's not gonna be in, just in case Lou shows up. Minutes of our last meeting, we just got them, so we will table those until our next meeting. Bills?
I have none.
Yeah, I didn't see any. Okay. Acknowledgement, new, 21-05, 35, WM F. Palmer Road, Dutch Investments LLC, special exception review to construct a 40 by 42 addition to a commercial building. This is map 65, lot 139.
So the existing building is where the pharmacy is right now, and they're proposing to put the addition to the back. There are a few more details that are gonna be added to the plan, but, it is substantially complete and could be ready for a public hearing on May 11th.
Our first meeting of May.
Yep.
I'm assuming this is probably for storage and stuff.
Initially, it was going to be to expand the pharmacy, but now it's kind of gonna be retail slash storage. He's not sure, but he said since he got started in the plan, he figured he'd continue it out.
Any questions from any commission members?
I'm good.
Okay, I would accept a motion to set public hearing date for our first meeting in May, which is the 11th.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Regulation review, agricultural.
So, last month, you left it to talk to the building inspector and find out why 5,000 square feet seemed to be a magic number for the home installations of greenhouses and all that, and he said it is a magic number because anything over 5,000 square feet requires an engineer's stamp. Doesn't mean you can't buy them, but they, you know, they are stamped. He goes, and that's any structure, whether it's a horse barn, a riding rink. It has to have the architects and the engineers' wind and snow load requirements all stamped on the manufacturing. And a lot of those larger buildings usually come with some technical assistance and cost and for the construction and inspection to make sure that it's done to their specs. So he said that's the reason why at 5,000, which is 50 by 100 or whichever way you want it, that is an international building code. So we had originally had in our regulations, you know, considering special exception, and I threw a number just to throw a number of 10,000 square feet, and I think came back as to less. So that was what I looked up and found out.
Okay, so they're asking for 5,000.
Well, at 5,000
Yeah.
is where the
Cutoff is,
involved.
right.
Cutoff, yes.
Okay.
And if you wanted that to be as part of that intensive commercial operation, we could put that number at 5,000, just so you have a review of what's going on there. You know, that's a commission decision.
What's the commission feel?
I don't have a problem with it, I mean, the 5,000 and all that is fine.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, we're talking about everything in here that you had in yellow and green and
Correct, this has been kinda hanging around for a while, waiting for the Ag Commission to respond. But,
I mean, I read it through, I didn't have a problem with it, I'm just asking, this is basically the final thing that you're thinking is good?
if you guys are good with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which section are you talking about with 5,000 square feet?
So when you look under the definitions and
Okay,
proposed intensive commercial farm farm operation,
okay,
we had, 200 poultry, 20 large body livestock, 30 adults small, and then at the very end, we didn't have anything for the size of the building, and now after Colchester, we're like, well, maybe we should, because since since agricultural is allowed in a residential zone,
right.
maybe if somebody comes up with this monster building, we should have a second look at it just to find out. The last thing you wanna hear from somebody is they're putting up 20,000 square foot building in a residential zone and you have no control. This gives you at least the ability to look at it, discuss buffering, discuss stormwater, discuss manure management if it happens to be an issue.
Where did you have that in this, though? I don't remember.
This is all new.
Oh, you're
That's
gonna
why
add
this-
it, but where is it gonna
Right.
go?
It'd go in two places. It'd go into the definitions of agriculture, and then it would go under section 29, a whole section for
Oh, okay, under
agriculture.
the section 20.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep,
Cause that's not in this right now, this one.
No.
I didn't see it,
No,
right?
so
Okay.
yes, all we have really is what is on the front page. That's it. Very slim. And the rest is all proposed.
So where are we at this? It's been a while since we wrote. It goes back to them, or are we
No,
ready to?
no, we looked at their minutes and they were good with what we had. I've put out emails, but I haven't got any response in weeks. I would say the next thing is, looking at sending it out to the area towns and scheduling a public hearing, so we have a response from them also.
Okay.
And, if you looked at it, do we hold a meeting, the first, public hearing, first meeting in June to give us the 35 days and all that necessary to send to the regional planning agencies? Yeah.
I have a question. Are we distinguishing between farm and hobby farm under the commercial slaughtering facility? It just says, are raised on the farm. And also, at the end of that section, there's, and the facility, there's three kind of widow words in that line.
Where are you?
On the
I'm
slaughter?
on, section 29, down on the proposed commercial slaughtering facility.
Okay.
Well, we're saying, actually, it's not commercial slaughter, really.
Well-
It's just you can slaughter the animals you have on your
You
farm.
have, right.
Whether you're a hobby farm or you're.
Well, but the commercial part comes out of it is that if they want to sell it.
Okay, like the ones, well, a bunch of them are doing that right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, right now, we don't have it really well defined.
No, but
So
they
we're
have to
saying
be.
if you raise the animals there, you can slaughter them, you can sell them.
All right.
What you can't do is bring in 20 cows from your lot.
Right, exactly.
And then all of a sudden become a
Commercial
stockyard.
facility, yeah.
what if someone's gonna slaughter deer for local hunters?
That's not permitted because they didn't raise them.
That's not permitted, even, that couldn't be a hobby type of farming type thing?
That's not farming, then you're just
This
meat
is
packing.
slaughtering?
You're just, yeah.
My concern on that would be the setback changes that you're proposing from the 100 feet and the 75 feet on the sideline. If it's a commercial slaughtering facility, I wouldn't think you would want, to limit that to a full farm that meets the setback requirements and not to a hobby farm. Um,
Well, it is almost, confusing when it's proposed commercial slaughtering facility, we're actually gonna allow it. I mean, literally.
Yeah, but what do
We allow a slaughtering facility on your farm for your animals. But there is no, I mean, commercial kind of says that it's for public use, which
Well,
it is not.
Right, it's commercial in the sense that you can turn around and sell it.
Oh, the food out of it. Yeah,
Correct.
okay, well, maybe we need to define this a little better.
All right, I can see what others, communities do to.
Just
deal
how
with-
it's defined, so it's clear
Yep.
that this is not where you bring in other
I
animals.
mean, we could also add to the end that it could be subject to the same buffer as intensive commercial farm operations.
Yeah, but isn't there a big difference between slaughtering a chicken and slaughtering a pig?
Well, there's a lot more
Yeah,
to
lot more
it, yeah.
work.
Well,
We're just saying animals.
yeah, but the
Right.
problem is, if
Yeah.
you're gonna do 25 chickens or you're gonna do one pig, it's all a big pain in the neck, and it's all feasible probably in the same amount of time. I think the real problem here is that when people do it in their own backyard for their own consumption, nobody cares. And that happens
Yeah.
all over the place, and we're not going that route. But if someone wants to set up,
There
And-
already are farms selling what they slaughter on their farm.
right,
Raising animals and they're slaughtering them, and they're selling the food.
right.
So in
But
that sense,
we
maybe,
could get down the road, and the reason I added
I don't know
it-
that they're slaughtering them there for a fact, but.
Well, the reason I added it is because I'm worried down the road, somebody who's trying to do this right has a neighbor come in and say, oh, you don't allow slaughtering in your, there's nothing in the zoning that says it's allowed. And I wanna file a complaint.
Yeah.
So this is more of a, let's protect them, because if they're doing, they're raising it on the land, they're slaughtering it, and they're sending out, and the difference is, if I buy the animal from the farmer altogether, it does not have to go to a USDA packing house. So if, like Pete Dean's, he's got the beef cow, if I buy the entire thing, it doesn't have to go to USDA. But if he takes it, wants to bring it to a farmer's market and or, to a store, it has to go to a USDA stamp plate, and the closest one happens to be in Rhode Island.
I thought Salem was.
Salem bailed out. Salem will only do it for, you bring it over there and I take it to my house. They'll do that. But not 14 different places.
Salem doesn't even do, venison anymore.
Yeah.
They stopped that.
So what does Cold Springs Farm do? They have animals, livestock, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they bring it over to Salem and then it's just you deal with it, or I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I thought this would be an opportunity to put something in there to, protect them from somebody coming and saying, oh no, I'm not, I moved next to a farm, but I'm not gonna put up with them slaughtering it.
Yeah.
Which is, every farm's, every dairy farm and all, eventually there's a time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can just clarify
I'll look
it
into
a
it.
little. Let's
I'll
see.
look, we're not,
Maybe it's good, but
all right, I'll check into it.
I
Anything else,
guess,
Susan?
I guess we gotta know what's going on out there, The farms that we have in town and
Can I use that line?
how they're
Does he
addressing
not
this.
wanna know the truth?
You're the land use official.
Well, right now, who's doing it in town? The Paws? On the
Paws do
beef
it.
flow up on top?
Dean does it, Quinn does it, the guy on Route 82 down by you sells.
oh, does he?
Yeah.
I know that's right. He's raising them to get rid
Yeah,
of
he
them.
raises it and does it, so,
What's that guy, the one right on the sharp corner there?
Brian Mar there.
Yeah,
Is he on the list?
as,
I don't know, home occupation?
no, that's a farm, that's a whole different set of things. So, yeah, there's quite a few, and then, every once in a while, you'll see people, and there's one of those things, like, okay, I'm into it now, but now I got tired, or I got a second job, and then they come back to it, but, but the real thing is you don't wanna have is 15 people going to one place, really upsetting the neighborhood, and making it unworkable.
Okay, so rework that and then we'll have to revisit it.
Okay.
Okay, well, put it off, I guess. The CEO report?
Well, I put on the only other thing I added, that wasn't, I don't think, on the agenda, Jim had asked about, seasonal, how other towns deal with seasonal units, and to refresh everyone, in ours, I put the regulations in the back of ours, plus the public health code. But, most towns kinda just gave it the Olay and walked away from it and left it to the public health code. Chester, Colchester, Coventry, Deep River, Durham, East Hampton, East Lyme, Essex, Haddam, Lebanon, Lyme, Marlboro, Old Lyme, Old Saybrook, and Portland.
Really?
Kinda said, you have to meet the public health code.
But not a minimum land area, like we're.
Not minimum land area, you have to meet the public health
Yeah,
code.
well, that's where I'm saying
Yep.
we should be, because we do it with vacant lots.
So,
So if you're able to do what you think you
You
can
can meet the
do,
code like somebody on a vacant lot can build a year-round house, assuming they can meet the code 100%. So why, if you have a cottage, and what I've seen is minimum lots that are smaller than people with seasonal cottages are making them year-round, but the seasonal cottage guy can't convert his house because he doesn't really meet the acreage. He's not close enough to get the variance.
so, and our record on that, Jim, I think was.
Oh, it goes back a long way.
About 2.22 acres.
That's what the
Less than a quarter-
variance, you gotta be
Less than a
close.
quarter acre, they were able to, in the sandy soil and the placement of wells and septic.
Oh, always gotta meet that, I don't have any
No.
problem with the code.
Right. You know, Hebron kinda opened it up because of sewer, so they said, well, if you're hooked to the sewer, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
well, they're
that's-
talking about the lakes. Now, Amston Lake, they've got sewers all around.
Right.
It's a little different. We don't.
why did we go the route we did?
That's what the part that I wasn't sure. It's been going on for as long as I can remember.
It's in the regulations from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think the reason a half acre was for year round, the only thing I can derive out of it was the smallest zone we had for residential was a half acre. So if we had a half acre zone, if someone could meet that, that was kind of number. Also too, in realistic terms, in most soils, we tell people, you know, in most soils, except for the sandy ones, you might need all of that half acre to meet the health code and the well
Well, there are a
separation.
ton of them that will never be able to meet the code because, I mean, the ones that can maybe have a vacant lot nearby or something like that. I mean, those
Yep.
are the ones, but when you're packed in with cottages right next to each other between the wells,
You're right.
that they probably can't meet the code.
Right.
Hey, that's just the way it goes. I mean,
They're
if
barely
you can't,
making
you
it
can't.
now.
But, I mean, those who can, it's like, why would we deny that? You know?
You know, the only thing that I thought, and I put down potential amendments, at the end of ours was, one was, you know, if you did eliminate the minimum lot area, that's up for discussion. The second one, even though it ours says meets the zoning regulations, a lot of people don't realize that it has to meet the flood criteria too. So if it's on along the water, and it's in the flood zone, then there's all these requirements come to it, or if it's along
For
the,
instance, the ones down on the river that are in the floodplain, they can't meet the code because they're in the floodplain, right?
they can't meet the code because they can't get safe access out.
Okay.
That
Well,
is
then
the-
they don't meet the code.
Right. So, but just so it's there, so somebody can see it, cause a lot of people don't think about it. And Hebron had a requirement, and I really kind of like this one, a report from a licensed home inspector, architect or engineer, report the existing structure, electrical, plumbing, installation components, and find out what improvements are required, because there's some ratty buildings out there. And the last thing we need is another,
Well, the point
Fire.
is, to meet the code, you may actually almost rip it down.
you might,
And that's up to them if they wanna go
Correct.
through that, but.
but you
know,
don't wanna do is say, okay, you've got year-round, and not follow through with the building code
Oh,
requirements.
no,
No, you still have to
Right.
meet those.
But that's their end.
I'm sure, and we can always,
Oh, they had a whole list
Oh,
of
yeah.
stuff, yeah, yeah, if you look in the front where Hebron is, cause it keeps
Yeah.
on going and,
I got you.
you know,
That's the part that you like, okay.
so that's, you know,
That makes sense.
for consideration. Maybe somebody will see something out of the others, but, you know, most of this, I was kinda surprised, cause I remember it used to be a huge issue down at Old Saybrook.
Oh, yeah.
Seasonal year round, and they just amended it to say, okay, it's health code, we're not dealing with it.
Yeah, you either meet the code or you don't, that's the point, that's kinda straightens the whole thing out, you don't have to argue about areas exactly, you're gonna either meet it or you don't, so.
okay, anything else, Jim?
Well, the other thing is, which I'll get a copy off to Rich too, and to Lou, is that, you know, the list of scenic roads and where they're located for the, in town. So,
Do you know when, they're gonna be working on BB Road?
we did last week.
I heard they were out there, but I don't know what was done.
We brought in gravel and graded it with a bulldozer. Raised it up, put some crown in it. Not sure if we don't have a grader right now that can work on that, so they're probably gonna put more crown in it, but it is much better than it was. It is that constraint of the, best we can determine, within the 16 foot that they were looking for. 15, 16 foot.
Okay,
There's gonna be delineators put along the side as soon as we get a supply, another supply of them too.
so let me ask the
Number of people
question.
driving on the side.
Okay, so let me ask the question, when that was done, should the subcommittee have been notified that it was going on so that they could comment or at least go out? I mean, we're just finding out now that it was done. I mean, we set up the subcommittee, Rich is in charge, he should be notified as, you know, what's going on out there, and then report back to this commission.
Well, I guess we could do that, sure.
Well, I mean, I would think that's how we would work it. So,
So the biggest, longest scenic road is East Shore Drive, not 2 miles? That's the
Yeah.
longest one.
Yep. That's the one that's the most difficult because it literally by fee simple is only 15 feet.
There's a lot of areas on that sucker. So, but it's from one end to the other?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I mean, there's pavement on both ends.
I know,
but-
that's quite the mishmash of road there. Oh, okay.
okay. Okay, discussion. Motor Center mapping review. Ed, do you want to give a synopsis of what we covered?
Basically, what we did was, we're looking at whereabouts in Moodus we can kind of consolidate the zoning so that people can use their buildings for mixed uses, commercial and residential. We discussed some of the buildings could be up to 3 stories tall, but that's gonna, you know, it all depends on the fire marshal's approval. Let's see, the zone we're looking at goes from, it's down 149 from the old, where Gristmill Market is there, and down to where the old Cumberland Farms is, where 149 breaks off of 151, and then back around and up Wickham Road, then up,
Oh, you mean Wigwam Hill? or
Wigwam Road, I'm
Hill,
sorry,
yeah.
Wigwam, and then up to Joe Williams Road, and across over to, back over to Moodus.
Are there many properties affected by would there be many properties, you think, totally affected by the change?
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of changes really between, there's a couple of our half, or one, our ones,
One half.
Yeah.
our one house. But, you know, basically, we're just looking at a plan right now.
I was just wondering how many properties might be affected by making changes like this, you know?
Well, there's
That's
quite a few
something-
in that whole area.
that's something that we're
We
gonna-
got this whole block that we're sitting in, pretty much.
It's something we're gonna have to look at. We don't have a plan in sight what we
No, I'm
want.
just trying to get a handle on, okay, how
Right.
many would that affect? Yeah.
You know, it's a long-term,
Oh, yeah,
you know, so
not gonna happen tomorrow.
it's not gonna happen probably within our lifetime, but with the new, with the new store going into, well, you have to plan ahead.
Kinda young over there, huh?
We've seen a lot of changes already.
Right, with the new store going in as a kind of, we're thinking of it as an anchor store over by Gristmill. I mean, that's gonna change the, kind of the face of Moodus. You have the Moodus Center right now, that's that metal building is just about at the end of its lifetime. So something new is gonna be going in there probably soon, well, in a couple of years anyway, so. That's basically, we're just looking at it now. We're gonna get together next month to
Next Thursday.
next Thursday to look at it again and more discussions, so.
Bob, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think that basically the committee is looking at, that a lot of that zone, the commercial zone, residential use isn't allowable. It was for a while, and we kicked it out, and so it's bounced back and forth. And I think what we're looking at is the possibilities of getting some residential use, especially if we use two-story buildings, how to get back to what Modus used to be, and very typical for commercial areas, that you basically have your stores on the first floor and your residential on the second floor. It makes a better investment from somebody looking at it from an investment standpoint, which is what we've got to attract. We've got to make it look like it's going to return something to an investor. And if we're going to get, especially, we're looking for architectural, you can do a lot more if you've got a two-story building as compared to a one. And so I think that we could open up some more interesting area and make it have a little bit more of a village feel to it. But I think that the architecture is a big part of this. And as Ed brought out, I mean, basically you've got the old plaza there. It's beyond its useful life. The building, it will come down. Hopefully in our lifetime it's going to come down. And something that will be done. And if we can give some guidance as to what the town wants to see along Route 149, I think it would be very helpful to a developer to know what the community wants. And I think if we can develop some good guidelines, this will help an investor to know that, okay, we can get a mixed use here, we can get something that'll have some pleasing look to it from the street. And then I think we're looking at what we can do with parking, and to see if we can get some parking. That road is just way too wide down there, and it needs to either get some parallel parking or look at some possibilities of what we can do to tone the speed down, get it more feeling like a village, and of course, I mean, I think the big thing we're looking for is be attractive. And then the rest of this big block, I think that opens up basically some land for residential use, and it's got to be some multifamily, and I think this is what the community needs. We need to take and make a place where we can invest money and basically have multifamily and do it in a way that's a plan to it, and do it so that we get something architecturally pleasing when we're all done. So I think that's kind of where the committee is going, and I mean, these are all just things we're looking at, and then we got to zero in on what's the practical part of it, and just, there's no sense in creating a plan if it's something that doesn't work. So we've got to make it so it's something that works from the town standpoint, something that works from the investor standpoint, and then make it so that hopefully we can come up with some ideas what investors could be interested in. But I see them working.
We're trying to do all our groundwork, so hopefully we can get the funding that we asked for next season, and get some professional help also.
I think
You know.
I think all we can do is basically come up with the ideas. We need some
Right.
professional help.
Yeah, to pull it all
actually-
together.
Actually draw it and make it so that it's something that the public can look at and make a judgment call whether they like it or they don't.
It also came up at the meeting, I guess, that Brownell and Company is going to the auction block. Did I hear that correct?
It's,
Or did they pay it?
it always, the properties like this always come up, I don't get a feedback as to when they pay it, but a lot of properties lapse, and that's
Correct.
one of the ways to get them to pay it is do that.
Right.
Banner, I know they did, and then they came up. But I also heard that Brownell had come up, we weren't sure.
Or June 2nd.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
You want
that's
to
a
weigh in
big
on the
question on
status
what's
of
gonna happen there too, and what might happen there, and what possibly a developer might wanna do with that large parcel. So, clean it up or demo it.
Well, I think whenever we have a new owner, we have possibilities, and,
Yep.
and obviously, economic development will be talking to whoever the new owners are, and we'll let them know what, zoning would allow, and also what the community would like to see.
Yep.
So as soon as we see that there's been any transfer there, we will definitely contact, the new owner.
Sorry, Bernie, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, he mentioned Banner, I just wanted an update on that, but to stick on subject here, you mentioned 3 stories?
Right.
Who came up with that idea?
That's actually
That was-
permitted in our existing regs as they are now. You can build a 3-story structure as long as you can provide adequate and safe fire exit through the fire marshal's review of the site plan and the architectural. So
We have
we,
2 3-story apartment buildings just down the road,
yeah,
right on Plains Road.
Would you, in
Been
a
there
commercial
all
building,
the
would you
time,
need
right?
an elevator?
depending on the levels, there may be.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It comes down to the fire marshal also, the topography,
Right.
whether or not, that hopefully the ladders can get there. If it's really low on one side, they might not allow it.
For example, in the revitalization plan, the ones that are stuck into the hill behind the parking lot and face Broom Road, it's 1 story is retail on the lower level, the 2 stories top and bottom, they're on Broom. But there's 3 floors there.
Yeah.
And they have frontage, the retail at the parking lot level and the main entrance for the top floor off of Broom. So there's 3 stories that they would accept, let's say, from the fire marshal.
Yeah, I like the idea of mixed use, I just didn't, commercial below and,
Well, I mean, it does have to fit,
Above,
work,
Right.
And it gives the person, the developer, an opportunity to actually, make money, hopefully, like Bob was saying. Sometimes a 1 floor, it's a one-shot deal, whether or not it makes enough. If you can rent that second or possibly a 3rd floor, that's more income, so you're more apt to invest at that point.
So Jim, I was looking through the regulations for, pertaining to the village and other locations. And commercial buildings aren't accessory dwellings allowed on the 2nd floors?
They are.
Buildings right now?
So the residential component is permitted as long as it is accessory to a commercial use, because we put that in because we only had a whopping 15 acres of, commercial or whatever we had, and said we wanted to make sure that we had a commercial base on the ground floor, but we permit residential use above, and whether it's 1 story above or 2 story, depending on the fire department's, fire marshal's review. So it is allowed. It
That's what I
can
thought,
happen.
okay.
And to give you an example, one that did that is the daycare, which Sally, I forgot it. Sally went and put on WF Palmer.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so she had the daycare at the ground floor and actually part of the walkout basement, but she had an apartment above there that kind of solidified, as you said, the mortgage payments.
But right now, that's allowable use in
Yeah.
all of the commercial zone?
Yep, it says accessory use,
It's accessory.
accessory, so yeah, so what you don't wanna see is the commercial zone, you have good store frontage, and at least that was the intent of the regulation when it was, put together. Yeah, have residential components go all the way up and down the street, and then somebody say, I wanna move my store here, but I got nowhere to go. So we wanted to make sure that the ground level storefront was available for it, but then allow residential above, so that you could have that mixed use.
So, and also to address the fire department, the Quint fire engine that's coming will have a 75-foot ladder.
Okay.
couple other things. One is, it seems to me that, you're talking about going all the way to Wigwam with this?
Going up,
Road right out here.
right.
So it would
I
be
thought
the
we were
block.
focusing on the core area of Lewis.
We're looking at consolidating the zoning in that whole area so that we can work with the residential piece along with the commercial pieces.
Yeah.
I know they got a farm down the road down in Wigwam, but
Yeah, but I mean,
there's,
look what we're sitting in, this is at the top of Wigwam.
right,
I mean,
Right.
you ain't gonna bigger than this thing.
All part of Mudas.
Which area did you think was out
The
of line?
plaza, grist mill,
Yeah, but I mean,
We're
William
gonna-
F. Palmer is supposedly where we were extending all of our, I mean, the bank, all the rest
could
of
you
it.
say that again?
William F. Palmer, I mean, where the bank is, Liberty Bank and all that. I mean, we extended all the way out there. This just connects it to a loop to this. I don't know. I mean, it's all for discussion.
We're
Yeah, no, I
focusing-
was thinking more as you get farther out from the village center, you get more into residential, multi-use, multi-family, two-family, maybe three-family, that kind of a thing. Walkable, you know, sidewalks,
Correct.
and your core commercial is where, you know,
Where we're focusing is in Muda Center down 149, down towards, almost to Brown, where Brownells
yeah,
is down there.
yeah.
Right. That's for the commercial area, but we're looking at the area as a whole and what we could do for development in the future.
And the only thing I'd add to that would be that it seems like the speeds are a result of the wide road. So it seems like to choke the road down
That's what we were just talking
and,
about.
and
That's why we're talking about the buildings being closer to the road, having parking along the road, you know, parallel parking or,
yeah,
you know, 45-degree parking going in.
some
Try to make it,
landscaping and,
Yeah.
well, Rich likes to
Big-
call
big
it as making a
puzzles.
canyon to kind of slow down that traffic as it's going
Yeah.
through there. So people are aware.
Like Deep River, not to interrupt, but like Deep River, you go into Deep River and it's like all of a sudden, the town's there and it just slows you right down.
yeah.
You don't have a choice. That's the long-term goal that we'd love to try and do over here, and then people would slow down
Well,
and
that's,
hopefully stop.
that's where I envision two-story buildings,
Yes.
but not three, you know,
No, but you're throwing out the three just in case it maybe
But
might
look
work.
at, the embankment right out here off of 149 as you're heading up toward, the Village Pizza on the right. You could build in there and go 3 stories like nothing, 2 on that and 1 on the upper level.
But how do you regulate that? How do you,
Well, you don't, you
a
have,
good
you have 2
location for a
stories.
three-story building, but a bad location for a three-story building, you know?
Well, is it gonna stick up without that, what I'm saying is built into the hill, so you have the one facing the road and the second one is either parking lot or access to the street on the upper level.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of places you can pull that kind of stuff off without it being,
Yeah, I just don't know how you,
Ugly, let's
I
say.
just don't know how you legislate that.
well, let's look on Plains Road for the old buildings you're talking about, that Moss happens to own right down here across from the library. And those are some big houses. They don't look that big, they're multi-stories, 3 stories at least, but because of their size, it looks proportional. If you have a narrow thing that's 3 stories tall, it look like a tower.
And I suppose setback works into that also,
They happen to be off the street.
farther back,
Yeah.
3 stories works.
But I mean, look at that Victorian down there, right at
Yeah,
the corner.
no.
I mean, that thing's a monster.
Yeah,
The Fowler House?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's at least 3.
all of it, yeah.
But it's so big, it looks proportional.
yeah. I just wouldn't want to overstep, but that's all I have.
Well, we're a long ways from there, Bernie,
Yeah.
you know, a long ways from there. Anything else on the discussion?
Can I get an answer on Banner? What's the status of that?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know if they paid it back or not, but he goes through these waves all the time.
Yeah, he did that last year too, I believe. so.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the year before at least, but. yeah.
I get a lot of people asking me that,
You mean about the taxes?
about whether the golf course is gonna open or,
Golf course is supposed to be open today,
oh, okay.
so that's what I heard on Saturday.
Okay.
Or actually, maybe yesterday. Today or yesterday, somewhere in this vicinity, so.
And he's in bankruptcy. I don't get
Last
it.
year was the year to be open for Banner and they were closed.
I know.
Everyone was golfing.
I know.
Okay, home occupation. How do you want to attack this, ladies and gentlemen? Do we start with our application? Do we go back to the, regulations? Are you happy with them the way they are? Or do they need to be changed?
Well, anything can be tightened up at some point, that's for sure.
Okay. How would you want to tighten them up?
What does Jim have in mind for, what do you have in mind for definitions and?
Well, I think it really, it's a policy decision commission. I mean, do you want vehicle gross weight added? Do you want, you know, those sort of things? Do you want, as Bernie said, more flexibility on existing structures? I was hoping people maybe, you know, checkpointed some of these sections and said, yeah, I really like that, or God, we can't be doing that, that's overboard type thing. Give me some direction and I can come up with a,
Unfortunately, you can see
Baseline.
applications in both directions. There's times when you'd say, boy, we shouldn't be doing that. Other times when we've seen where, we shouldn't have allowed that. So,
Well, then maybe we should,
I think there's any perfect answer.
no. I mean, if you want me to take a whack at, you know, combining all of these things and highlighting them in a set of regulations that has additional strengthening, I can do that. And then, you know, it's an à la carte, it's like going to the restaurant, which one do you want?
well, what I'd like to see right off the bat is I think all applications should come in front of the commission.
So is that policy or is that actually in the regs?
Well, right now, this is the application, even
That's-
your yellow.
Yep.
You know, number 8 on the second page, it says, any application that is more than office use only and no customers will require planning and zoning, commission special exception review. You get rid of the first part of that sentence, this part, any application that is more than office use only and no customers, get rid of that and put all applications will require planning and zoning commission special exception review. At that point, we can decide whether or not we would like to have it come in front of the commission or not.
So that, I mean, so we just had a couple the other day that are doing business as, or just consulting from the house on the phone. I mean, under their existing regulations, those consulting from the house on the phone, really, they could be handled in the office rather than dragging them here.
Well, as I said, Jim, bring it in front of the commission, let the commission make the decision whether or not they want to bring them in front.
Okay.
All you're doing
I
is,
got you.
it's
I
just a
got you.
day, a week or two, and
Okay.
then we make that decision, at that
Alright.
point. We can
Okay.
decide as a commission, okay, well, handle it internally, or, okay, let's bring it in front of the commission at that
There's
point.
gotta be a ton of them, that kind of thing where, I mean, working from home can't be,
Yeah, and we're gonna see a
can't be a
lot more
zoning
of it.
decision.
Yeah, but we're gonna see a lot more of it, and if we decide that we wanna bring applicants in that may not have come in, we can play with the fees. You know, instead of having the $40 fee and then the $45 fee if they have to come in for a special exception, right, so it's an $85 fee.
Special exception gets you into the public hearing aspect where we gotta send out notification to paper.
Well, I know the
That's a
notification,
$360
You know, so-
application.
The only one that bugs me is like the obvious, you work from home and you got an office in your house, is that a business? I mean, I.
Does not apply here. I don't
That to
believe
me
that.
is just,
We-
we definitely gotta exempt that kind of stuff, cause
I don't
they
think
should
we
not
have to
be
look
asking
at that.
permission.
well, like I
Sit in
said,
their house and be on the telephone, I mean,
But it-
holy crap.
but if we bring it in and then we make that discern here, then it doesn't have to come in front.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know, I think those are just automatic, you know what it is?
If I'm
too?
a day trader working out of my home,
That's fine, well, let's just keep an eye on what's going on.
there's
Bernie.
nobody driving up my driveway. There's, you know, I don't have a sign out there.
All we have to do is check it off, that's all I'm saying.
There's no reason.
Well, the only reason I would say that we should exempt it is because I'll bet you 50% of them are never gonna come to zoning and ask,
Right,
because
yeah.
you're never gonna know they're there.
Right.
If I was doing that in my house, how the hell would you know that?
You wouldn't.
That's true.
And, you know, I don't happen to do it, but I don't know, that's why I would say, I would rather say that type of thing, that cut and dry type of thing should be exempt.
Well, we thought a lot of things.
Then
were-
anything else that is a business where you have to have clients come to your house, that's a whole different story.
You know, we thought things were cut and dry, and
I know.
they weren't. That's
I'm-
all I'm
That,
saying.
that's a lot different, what happened over in South Winds is a lot different than the kind of thing that Bernie and I are talking about, where you
No, I
just,
realize that.
Totally different.
and I know 50% of them are never gonna ask, because they're gonna think, what, are you kidding me? I'm sitting at my desk, which everybody has a desk anyway, right?
Well, the person who does that, they're not gonna even apply to begin with.
I agree, and that's why I would wanna just exempt
It'd
that
probably
right
be a
off the bat.
disincentive for them to
I mean,
come forward.
What was that?
It'd probably become a disincentive for them to come forward.
Well,
They-
you,
they-
Then where do you draw the line?
but you know what it is though?
But if,
You're never gonna say no to that guy, so why the hell is he coming before us? I mean, there is no point in looking at applications that, what are you gonna say, no to the guy? He sits in his office and he's on the phone? You're always gonna say yes.
Of course.
So then, shouldn't come here. Because if,
Well, it wouldn't be
there's
coming
no
here.
decision to make, in other
Right,
words.
but what I'm saying, Jim, it wouldn't be coming here, we'll just check it off and it's just making sure.
All
that we know.
others, I'm game with you that we're gonna have to start looking at them all, because they get out of hand pretty quickly.
Well, they do, that's the whole thing, so if you're gonna make that distinction, let's make it a firm distinction.
Well, then
So we
let's
know
get a
what-
good
so we know that
definition of
what
what
we're
we're
talking
talking
about.
about.
Cause I don't want something to be snuck in, and next thing you know, it balloons and,
well, that's true too, from the way you're saying it now. Somebody can start off as just being a phone in their office in their home, and it could expand. And if we don't know they're there, it should at least be,
I mean, trust me,
come forward so that you say, okay, yeah.
I'm all in favor of business.
We're in favor of business,
Don't get me
yes, that's
wrong.
good,
Well,
but
these
there's
are almost like not
limits.
businesses, this is like your work at home. So it is business related, but it's not like you're running your own company. You work for a company, but you work at home. I mean, how can you distinguish that stuff? I mean, I just feel that, man, we gotta limit some stuff, and that's one of them right there. And because anytime anybody comes here and asks us to do that, what are you gonna say, no? Of course, you're never gonna say no to them, so it's pointless to come. You're always gonna say yes to that person, because you know, that's where, and then, but make a distinction between those where, okay, you have customers coming to your place or something like that, something that really becomes a business operation out of a home. I'm game for review of those.
Okay, so if someone starts off and it's a phone business, then all of a sudden they start having attorneys show up.
Well, then they
Then all of a sudden they
definitely,
have an
they are
accountant show
definitely
up.
need to apply. And because you're never gonna, have 50% of them, you're never gonna know they exist.
No, I know, I realize
And that's
that.
the only reason I'm saying, well, half of them you're not gonna know exist, you're never gonna say no to them when they apply. So we may as well make a distinction for that kind of thing as doesn't need zoning approval. And then, here's the things that do. You have customers coming to your house, that's a home occupation that may impact the neighborhood, we wanna review it. Fine. I mean, I understand that, and I don't have a problem with looking at those that could impact the neighborhood, but a guy sitting at his desk at home, I just like to make a distinction for that. That's the way I just feel. It's like, oh my God.
Okay, so is it an accountant, an attorney, are those?
Want to name them?
Well, no, what I'm saying though, you start getting into those.
Well, no, because
then you're gonna have the people
no,
coming.
because an attorney's going to have clients come over and all that.
So is an
That's-
accountant.
If you're hanging a shingle out, you got people come to your house.
Exactly.
That's a little
So-
different than you work from home and my son does it down south and he's got multiple computers and he's nonstop working in his home office. But I mean, does anybody down there know he's doing it? No, he's in his house. I mean, I don't know. No customers come. He just does everything by phone and.
So do you wanna just review them? Like everyone that,
But they-
everyone that applies, so we just look at it, review each one as it
They
comes
won't apply though.
across?
Who would apply for sitting at my desk at my job?
It's gonna cost them $50,
I don't
right?
apply.
Well, even if it didn't come in front of the commission and they wanted to apply, it's still gonna cost them $45.
And that's, that's something else too that you wanna consider too.
I mean, it's written right now.
So what'd you want to do about that? I mean, Kurt,
What?
what'd you want to do about that? What'd you think is?
Well, what I'm just saying, I mean, you were just saying that they wouldn't apply, but right now, the way it's set up there, someone said $50, well, right now they have to pay it. No matter what there's a fee.
For home office.
Right, for home office, that doesn't change. All I was saying, well, let's just see, the honest people are gonna come in and they're gonna, apply. They have a reason that they know that they have to do it. The person who's off the grid, he's not going to, he or she.
I just think, I guess that there's, one of the distinctions is, do you work for somebody else and you just work from your house? Or are you running your own business from your house, which may be a distinction.
That's what I'm totally big.
The only ones we're gonna see that are in office are the ones that are owning their own business and have to get a doing business as.
Okay.
If I work for CL&P out of my house, then you're not coming here for home occupation, cause they're working for
Okay,
CL&P out of
working
their
from
house,
home.
or, Eversource, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of insurance companies, that people are working out of
Oh,
homes,
I
but that's
know
not
that's
home
true.
occupation.
So
I
I
agree with
think that last line, if I change it to, if the application is any more than office use only and/or entertains customers, will require
Yeah.
a special exception review, that solves, I think, a lot of Jim's.
Or at least a zoning review in which, from
You
which
know,
we can go from there.
you know, it's basically says, no, I'm out of my office and nobody's coming here. That's what they've put down as a signed document for the application.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to see it. I don't have to put it on the agenda, you know, do it.
The way I
But
look at
if it's anything more than that, then it's in their description, then you wanna see it, we hold a special exception hearing, is what you're saying.
Or we could review it and
At
see if
least
we need to have
review
a.
and then decide
Just
whether
have
we
to-
wanna go the
just
rest of
have
the way.
us review it, right?
You're right,
Decide
that's
on
all
the
I'm
agenda.
asking, this commission to decide whether or not they want to entertain it or not.
Well, that would eliminate the problems that happened out there, South Winds anyway.
You're right, and plus it gives the town an idea of more of what's going
Right,
on.
it'll give us an idea what's coming into town, what's
I mean, the
going.
commission would know, right now,
Right,
we don't know, because we don't see anything. And it does come under our purview.
Is that a regulation change or what? Some language, but how much?
It's a
Yeah,
little.
I think we'd have
it's
to
a
get in
little-
there.
It's a little, not a lot.
I'm not trying to make it harder for anyone, I'm just trying to make it easier for the town and us to
No, I know, but I'm
understand
just
that-
thinking
that's
about,
it.
there's so much office, work from home stuff.
Yes,
I mean, you've gotta
Especially
consider
now.
that take place
well, things are
automatically.
gonna be changing too, because now it's just office stuff, but some.
A
you know,
lot of people can
the
work from home.
With technology changes, businesses are gonna change, so.
Sure.
Maybe it's a good idea just to review it, just so we have an idea what's coming into town.
right.
You know.
No, it's
Not
just-
saying we're gonna hold them up at all.
But that's
No, not at all.
distinguishing language that, Jim, you had there, read that again, would you? About the,
The very end of it, any application that is more than office use only and/or entertains customers will require the Planning and Zoning Commission special exception review.
okay, well,
So it's either, you're just office, or you're going for
yeah,
special
I
exception
mean,
review.
if you're gonna start having people coming to the house, that's, you know, for
That
business
sounds good to
purposes,
me.
that is another distinction that we would look at, cause you got, maybe there's multiple people, okay, so I could picture that being a review.
Right, I mean, then we might decide that we don't wanna see it,
Or we can say, yeah, this isn't gonna amount to
Right.
beans,
Right.
fine.
you know, and we'll just go from there.
That would be fine, and then we can make the decision on special exception if we think, okay, this is gonna have truck deliveries and all this other stuff. Okay, I'm game for that. Yeah, Bob, in the back too.
Mr. Kasner,
I'd just like to make one suggestion. When you're reviewing these or developing regulations, maybe there should be a two-tier, what would be allowable. I think it's a lot different if we're talking about a home occupation on a state highway, and if we're talking about a home occupation in a subdivision or a cul-de-sac or something like that. Very different uses would be applicable to those areas. So maybe the commission could give some consideration to a two-tier, what would be allowable in those zones, or.
well,
in
if
those
it comes in for a
neighborhoods.
special exception review, it would, you know, come there under our purview, and the neighbors hopefully would be notified and they would be able to come in, and at that point, are you saying just a whole different set of regulations for state highways?
I would say that
I
what
think
would
that
be
starts to get
allowable on
confusing.
a state highway would be probably a lot different than what would be in these residential neighborhoods that, you know, they're 1 and 2 acre lots, and, I think it's a lot different, what we're trying to do. The notifications that go out, it only goes to 100 feet around there. So basically, it isn't like the neighborhood gets notified, it's basically the house next door gets notified. And, so, you know, I think in the areas where we're talking about, you know, they're residential use, a cul-de-sac, you know, we kind of design these things for kid-friendly neighborhoods. And, so I think it's a lot different than if we're talking about, you know, Town Street, Route 151, or Route 149, or Route 82. It's very different type of, a use would be, probably, I don't wanna say permissible, but certainly be acceptable. So I would just, when you're developing or you're looking at these things, there's some very different, areas where I think we should be considering this and not. I mean, maybe it should, you know, in these cul-de-sac neighborhoods, it should only be for a an office type of use, and not get into, people running businesses out of something like that.
How do we
Very
come,
minimal.
how do we come down to the 100-foot?
The 100-foot is
Notification.
statutory requirement for special exception.
I'm sorry, that's what?
Statutory requirement for the special
So it
exception.
can be increased.
So that's a notice,
That's a minimum?
that's, well, no, that is actually the notice ordinance that we have for any, it's an ordinance, which
Okay.
is also part of, special exception says that you have to
Correct.
send out notice too, so they're kind of dovetailed
Okay.
with it. One of the other ways that you can get around the passive notice is you could also request for a home occupation that requires special exception, that a sign be put up
I'd be
in
interested
the
in
property.
neighboring towns, see if you can, do they
Most-
have any distinctions like that?
They,
'Cause
they
that
don't,
could be
because
a-
they kinda have the same language we do. They have, we all stole this from somebody, I don't know where, but you know.
You got it
was all-
from them, probably.
Yeah, because you have on there the home occupation shall not create and all the other stuff to go with it. That adversely affects the residential character of the surrounding neighborhood. So that's where the commission makes a differentiation on a Wickham Road, which is a, gravel road in historic district versus Town Street. And then further down, a home occupation shall not generate traffic which is substantially greater than the volume that traffic would normally expected in the resident neighborhood. So again, if somebody says, well, we had that on Tater Hill Road. Tater Hill Road, the guy said, I'm going to have dog training classes, I'm gonna have 10 vehicles. Well, Tater Hill Road's a long road and it gets a lot of traffic and nobody seemed to think that was a big deal. If it was Dobie Hill Road, where the road's only 15 foot wide and you can barely pass, that might have been a different discussion for this commission at the time.
Well, lot size would have a big impact.
Parking
on that,
area, the availability of all that, so that's when it does get the special exception, that you guys have flexibility to look at these individually as to how they go, because I think we get ourselves into trouble when we try to create zones outside of the existing zones. You start layer and layer and layer and it just gets convoluted. It's
I really don't wanna try and have two separate, regulations, cause, where do you
Yep.
so if we can work around that, but that's a very good point, Bob.
Okay, I'm just trying to make it so that we
Yeah.
have some guidelines so if somebody is looking to buy a house in a cul-de-sac neighborhood, that they're not thinking about, they're gonna be running a business out of that area.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's all about the use.
I'm sorry?
I think it's all about the use.
Oh, yeah, it is. A lot has to do with
We
that.
need to differentiate what uses belong where and to what level.
Well, don't forget, this affects the backyard carpenter wanting to, start building his cabinets in his garage and stuff that you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. Are you gonna put it on 82 or are you gonna put it down, Apple Lane or something, right in the heart of a neighborhood or something? Or Acorn Lane,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, or
Yeah?
west, south wind, so somehow we have to balance it all and look at it all individually.
So basically, that's more of a reason why they should be coming to us.
Yes.
So we can see what's out there, what's.
Right,
coming.
exactly, that's why we need to
Right.
look at it.
Right.
That
makes
as a,
That makes sense.
there's also in the regulations, that the, home occupation goes with the property, not with the person. I'm not sure if that's something we wanna retain, or someone needs to reapply at that point, so that we can keep a track of it.
Home occupation, is that true, huh? Is that true?
Yes. Oh, yeah,
Goes with the property?
yes, it does.
Wow.
Well, uses do, and that's what we've
Right.
seen in
That-
the
those are the-
past,
yeah.
like, for instance, Winkley's out there on Smith Road. I mean, if they sell, what we approve for their place sticks with that place. So, I mean,
Unless we change
uses go with it, I don't know, home occupation, I don't know.
What do they do?
So let me find out.
They've got the weddings and all that out there at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Smith Farm?
Yeah.
I think that there's some language that if under a special exception, if it's approved to run, so I'll find out if that's the same as ZBA. Because the zoning board of appeals, if you get a variance but you don't build it, it's on the land records forever. So I'm wondering if special exception approvals run with the property and not with the owner.
I guess in my head, I
But it
always
says here
thought
that it does run with
commercial.
property.
It says it does here, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering I wonder if that was folded in because special exception is. So
Okay.
we'll find out.
I never thought about home occupation that way.
Yeah, I guess in my head, I thought commercial ran with the land, but not home occupation.
Home
I
occupation.
never thought of it that way myself. but
Business,
could
yeah.
be.
Well, what about that cheese shop, what is it, cheese shop or coffee shop?
Oh, right down,
Down by, going into East Haddam, Village,
Norwich Road.
right, and they had that as a home occupation, so if they sold that, they'd wanna sell that as a store, but they'd have to purchase the land along with it, I would imagine, right?
That was
They'd
right
have
in
to
the
buy the
corner
home
there, you
plus-
mean?
Yeah.
right.
By Boardman right there?
Right, so if they wanted to
To a
sell that,
residence. It
yeah.
went to a residence, so. That's what they.
Well, that's
turned
right, they did change it to residence, but if
Right.
they didn't, and they had that as a home-based occupation,
right.
they could sell their property with that
Use.
use there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, anything else with home occupations we'd like to look into at this point? So I guess people just go through the regs and we'll sort it out.
Any appetite on moving that 25% up, or
25% what?
25% of the property can only be used for home occupation?
It's all on the table, Bernie.
Yeah, no, I need input. If I have
I
a
mean,
barn
it's
in my
arbitrary,
backyard.
but you gotta start somewhere, I don't know, in the past, I mean, you had to show examples where it didn't work, so we could say, okay, this doesn't work, we gotta modify it, I'm just saying.
Well, I think if you're looking at going up and stuff, you know, quite honestly, if we're gonna start reviewing all the stuff, then that's gonna be our stopgap right there. We're gonna know, you know what they're doing and why they're using it and why they need more space. So I don't know if we necessarily need to go up, you know, unless it's, you know, special exception, like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is why I need the space. If it's reasonable, it's reasonable. I mean, just let them do it.
So you're gonna allow more if
No, I'm just saying.
you
if-
think
You
it's.
know, Bernie, it goes right back to that, what you just said, it's about the use, cause.
What's the use?
25% of some uses would have a lot of impact, and
Yeah.
other uses, you
Yeah.
wouldn't notice them.
Right.
So, it still does depend. But I mean, you gotta have some limitations, we really don't want the businesses to run forever at their houses. That's, what you know, if you're getting big enough, you need to go get,
No, I know, but a lot of the other towns look at 30%. I think one town was as high as 50%, and I just, you know, it's open to debate. If
Well,
you guys
you know
wanna
what?
hold it
Depends on the
at
size of the house too,
25, I
25%.
know.
Well, but it does max out at 750.
That's 750.
So it
Okay.
maxes
I
out
was
at
thinking that there was
750.
something like
square
that.
feet.
Yes. So even if you own a 10,000 square foot house, you're still maxed out because it
Okay.
says whichever's less, 25% of the structure or 750, whichever's less.
I mean, we can.
Well, what about other
change that
towns,
up.
again, let's see, what,
So they're all in the same ballpark. There's 750, there's 500, there's 30%. It's all over the place.
yeah, I guess the percentage doesn't matter, but the maximum square footage really does.
Is that just a living space?
Yeah.
Because what about a garage?
Yeah.
I know we talked about
yeah,
that.
in our case, it's of the dwelling unit, the floor area of the dwelling unit. So, of the total living area of the dwelling.
And that's the limit total on the site,
Right.
whether you have
So-
accessory buildings or not.
Well, think about it, you know, and we'll look at it, that's a good point.
You know, the best thing is if you have some examples of
Right.
how it fits, or doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking of this guy, Saltis, the builder. He's on,
Yep.
up by the elementary school. I mean, all you see is his truck there. You know that he probably has a basement, a workshop in the basement. He's got a 2-car garage that he probably uses.
Nope. Nope.
He doesn't.
Everything is in that vehicle.
Maybe I got a bad example.
Bob and I can attest to that.
You don't even take this toolbox out of that truck. Believe me, there's nothing in that house.
Bad example, but there's others.
All right, yeah.
There are others out there.
I guess a couple of us know
Bernie, did you talk about the cabinet maker? I went to Berlin 2 weeks ago, and this kid owns a building, a single car garage that's, no wider than for the car of the garage. And he's got everything so compartmentalized, the length of it. You open up the door and he's working in a residential neighborhood, and I said, I had to, because my son's friend, I said, don't you catch hell for this? Oh, no, the guy next to me works on automobiles.
there you go.
And so, they've got, and it clearly next to a historic district and residential, but talk about the amount of tools and the whole, the HVAC systems, everything in this little section. And he's putting out beautiful stuff. I was shocked, because I just thought, it'd be a table saw and some sanding and everything else. You probably know it's that a whole system that connects every electrical and then the vacs all connect. He has every bit of that stuff on top of it. There's gotta be $20,000-$30,000 worth of tools in that little, and he's building beautiful stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't work for Berlin, so I didn't have to say anything. So you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there are no limits, for instance, I'm thinking of a guy that's just built a workshop for wood, but it's a hobby. I mean, it's about 3/4 the size of this room, and it's nothing but that.
Yeah.
And I mean, all professional equipment and stuff, but it's just hobby work. He's retired, he loves doing woodwork, and he just does all kinds of stuff, but it's strictly hobby, it's not a business at all. We have no limits on that, right?
No.
No, just doing it for himself. They don't, they don't want it.
Hangs a shingle outside the house to sell a cabinet or two.
Right.
Well,
Okay, and
maybe he would do that, I don't know, but I mean, he does it, he might work on a neighbor's thing or some projects, but it's just for strictly hobbies, retired.
yeah, but you wouldn't know there was anything there from the outside, right?
No, and but it does happen to be an extremely back lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't even see the structure, but it's brand new and really set up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he could be doing that, and I mean, you take a Larry Curtis who's been a builder for his whole life in town, nobody realizes he's even there, he lives just right up, almost across from the high school's road. He has a workshop and a warehouse in Middletown where he does all his cabinet work. That's what he's always done, always rented up there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of builders doing all kinds of stuff, but they don't do it in their backyard.
Okay. Anything else on home occupation for right now?
More discussion.
Now or at the next?
No.
meeting? Okay, so you got some, does the state weigh in on the home occupations at all? Anything at the state level that they come down to the towns?
Not really. All they're
Okay.
concerned about is that you pay them a fee for your
Yeah.
your licensing if you're required to.
They always want
they-
the money.
They're on that doing businesses. The bank forces the doing business as they're the tail wagging the dog.
Yep,
Even if they do a trade name change, all of a sudden it's coming in. So that's how that happens. But no, they don't really.
okay. Okay, we already hit BB Railroad. I didn't mean-
One quick one.
Go right ahead.
What is this document that you sent about home occupation minor and
Oh, that was just another town that had.
major?
That
Yeah.
was another. I think I got that from Tolland.
Yeah, okay.
And I just saw it and I said, okay, you asked me to look at different ways to.
Where's that, Bernie?
Give
Jim
out
sent
last-
it to us.
Yeah,
I thought it was an interesting way to dice it,
they broke it out into minor,
okay.
minor and
now-
major.
I will
They
look
did
at
break
that.
it up,
Yeah,
so it was just a different way to look at it, so I said I would copy it out, get it to you.
it's an interesting concept that.
Yeah, I missed that one. I'll go back and read it. Okay, just so you know, Tony is not gonna be with us anymore, correct?
Correct.
Would you like to draft a nice, thank you letter to
Yeah,
her from the commission, and
absolutely.
we can all review it, maybe sign it, whatever?
And she did so, though I did ask her if Shannon, couldn't make it for some reason.
Uh-huh,
She said she'd think about subbing, as long as she wasn't buried in her house with remodeling.
okay, that's fine. And our new recording secretary's name is Shannon?
Go ahead.
Okay,
It's tough to see who it is with the mask.
oh, I know. Exactly. Okay, did you have anything else, Jim?
Nope,
Anything come in?
nothing.
Okay. Sue, did you wanna give us an update on open space? I'd asked you the last meeting if you might be prepared this week.
The last open space meeting, there was a discussion of the state grant that was awarded for the O'Connell Road Extension property.
Okay,
And the contract cost on that is $323,000.
What did the grant come in
The
at?
DEEP grant was approximately $97,000. And there was another grant that was being pursued or had been acquired from the, another nonprofit organization. So
That was awarded to.
that was awarded, okay.
8 Mile River,
It did get awarded to the town?
15,
For what amount?
15,000.
10,000.
10,000?
10,000 for now.
And with
The
it,
possibility of.
yeah,
five
I'm
additional.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
And I've also submitted an application to the Baflin Foundation. Don't know if they don't really have any timelines, but we put it in there anyhow. And I was gonna get a package, Rob was reviewing the schedule for holding meetings and all that, and then once that is locked down, I was gonna give you the entire package. So we know how it proceeds through the
Okay.
notification process and hearing, and I figured, like last time we did one, kinda had open space and P and Z as a public hearing together as an informational. I know it's a little difficult with COVID, but maybe we have some of the members, say, and open it up to the public, but that'll be one time, and then town meeting would be the second.
Caught up. Okay. Anything else anyone want to talk about? Kinda light tonight, but we got a lot done. Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have you been contacted by EDC yet for their meetings, since you are our rep?
Did you get the last,
No, I did
And
not.
make
Actually, I
sure
was
you
gonna
get
ask
on that
about
list.